Hello, everyone, and welcome to Co-Creation Station, the podcast where we talk about the law of attraction, the art of allowing, spiritual magic, the mind-body-spirit connection, and how to best enjoy this mystical, miraculous, mysterious, crazy, sometimes confounding, but always incredible journey we call life. My name is Collin. I am a teacher, tarot oracle card reader, and I'm also a singer and guitar player in the band Red Treasure, and I'm located in beautiful, sunny North Hollywood, California.
My name is Stephanie Orlina. I am a transformational life coach and I help people shift away from negative thinking and it transforms their lives. And I am in San Diego, California. It's a little cloudy today.
Slightly overcast, but it'll probably be really sunny like in an hour. If my experience in San Diego is any indication. We want to thank you for listening to the podcast. If you're listening to the audio version on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Overcast, wherever you listen. And also thank you for watching us. If you're watching us on the Co-Creation Station YouTube channel, at this point we are posting a brand new episode every Monday morning. We want to also thank you for liking, following, subscribing to us, reviewing us, all that good stuff. All of these things help other people find the show. We're very grateful to you for that. Please feel free to leave us a comment on the YouTube video if you're watching us there, or you can email us, no matter how you're watching or listening to us, at cocreationstation1111@gmail.com. Each week we start our discussion here on Co-Creation Station from a different jumping off point. And once again, we were in our friend time before the show, and we thought we were still in friend time, and Stephanie started talking about the law of attraction and the art of allowing, and I was like, hey, that's the podcast.
you're like, hey,
Give me
wait
a
a
moment.
minute.
Give me a moment to hit record and say some stuff, and then you can continue. So, Stephanie, you were telling me just a few moments ago that you were listening to Abraham. Do you want to explain really quick
yeah,
for
yeah.
first-time viewers, listeners?
Okay, so Abraham, when we speak of Abraham on the show, it's Abraham hyphen Hicks, and it's Abraham is how do I say infinite energies that Esther Hicks channels, and so they speak through her, and they are infinite intelligence, and so they've the teachings of Abraham. They've come to teach us and answer our questions and help us expand and grow and live life wonderfully. So I mentioned a couple episodes ago that I'm walking through a divorce, and so we've stepped back into mediation, and met with our financial analysis on Wednesday and got all the numbers, and it was stressful, but we both walked through it. So I was doing my due diligence and calculating some numbers because I was like, wait a minute, these don't look right. That my husband was saying that was a portion of that I needed to pay for. So I was doing that. It was stressful. I was doing this last night, and so I pulled up YouTube and started looking for Abraham, and and it was awesome. I was telling Collin, like, my inner being, God, spirit knows what I need, and my universal manager, which is the law of attraction. I love Abraham's terminology for law of attraction. They call it the universal manager. Knows the vibration of everything, knows what you want, knows what everything is, and able to like a manager. If we had like a personal assistant, just kind of gathers everything up. And so all the ones that came on, I just let it run. There was something in there. There was a nugget in there that helped soothe my like stress, my anxiety, my fear, my worry. And so I was listening to one, and it was like, oh, I just kept pausing it and writing down what Abraham was saying because it was like so pertinent to, I needed to hear this. So it was, how much do I trust the universe? So Abraham's like, how much do you trust the universe? How much do you trust the universe has your back? Exactly what I was needing to hear. How much do I know that things are always working out for me? So how much do you know that things are always working out for you? How much do you know that there is always a way? There's always a plan. Kind of like with the universal manager. We've got you. We know what you need. We know what you want. You don't need to figure it all out. The more you try to figure it out, the more you get all wadded up. Like, right? Like, there's been times I'm trying to figure it out, and it's like because I'm in my head, logical thinking, right? Or it has to be this way, or there's no way anything could happen. Let your universal manager handle it all. Practice knowing that things are always working out for you. So it was just divine. I just really felt like, oh, thank you. I needed to hear all of that. It's like, and doesn't everyone, right? Like, I'm sure there's many of our listeners that are walking through things that have just needed to hear that, to be reminded of it. And yeah, we're never alone. Always being guided.
I just wanted to mention real quick, this is a totally random thing, but I went to a really great improv comedy show in Santa Monica last night, and they were taking suggestions for the audience so they could create their sketch, which is how improv comedy kind of works. And I think it was the first thing. It said they were like, okay, we got these two improv comedians here, and one happened to be a man, one happened to be a woman. And he said, we need from the audience a situation that they are in or going through. And this woman in the back yelled very loudly, "They're going through a divorce." And the guy who is taking suggestions, like, "Thank you so much, sad lady in the back."
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Well,
Just want
go
to
ahead.
toss that in for
Yeah,
lighten
that's
the
great.
mood.
Well, and so in friend time we were talking about how you were sharing multiple things that had happened. Were they all yesterday? They all happened in one
Yeah.
day?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all these wonderful things that had happened. And I
Yeah.
go and I would remark like, "Oh, it just kept getting better, huh?" Huh.
Yeah.
And it was like, "Oh, your universal manager like took care of all that, huh? Oh, look, you there." And I was like that's happening all the time. It's just a matter of whether I'm letting it in or not, whether I'm
Yeah.
allowing it. Like the universe is constantly, spirit, law of attraction is constant reminding, God knows what I want, spirit knows what I want, inner being knows what I want. It's just a matter, am I in a receiving mode of it or not? And when I get in those moments, like you were saying, this amazing day you had yesterday, one thing after another, when I'm in those places, I'm like, what? This is amazing. Like, and sometimes I don't even feel like I'm in that great of a mood when things like that happen. And I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
how did that happen? Like, what did I do? Like, so, like recently I was saying I've been taking naps because I just need to like recharge. And it's like, and then cool stuff will happen. And I heard someone say, on one of the recordings when they have large gatherings of people asking Abraham questions. And the chick's like, yeah, and I won the lottery. And yeah, I was taking a lot of naps. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in the stuff that you brought up about Abraham, listening to Abraham in the beginning that was interesting to me. I've really been struck by the whole we don't have to
Collin,
figure.
that's a lot of background noise. I don't know what you're doing.
Oh, that's just a vehicle driving by my apartment. I live in an extremely noisy neighborhood.
Are you serious? It sounds like you're rumpling papers or something.
Oh, sorry. I'm also ruffling papers. Sorry.
I'm like, I don't
realize
usually
that
hear.
was noisy. Okay.
I'm like, I don't usually hear cars like that.
Like, is the car made of paper? Sorry about that. No, I just took down some notes when you were talking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was like a windstorm there. I was like, whoa.
Sorry about that. No, but the whole thing about having to figure it out, because I think that that's something that, at least in American culture, as long as I've been alive, that's something where there's this idea coursing through our culture, that our belief that it's up to you to figure out your life and make all the correct decisions, and if something doesn't work out, it's your fault, and if it does work out, then you're great, and no pressure. Good morning, welcome to Monday. It's just sort of like, wow, like that's not a really pleasant way to go through life. But I think there's such a thing, and I remember one of our first episodes in season 1 was about goals. Like this whole idea of goals, and Abraham has talked a lot about goals in her workshops, or their workshops, in recent years. And but I think there is such a thing as a healthy plan. Like a healthy plan for your day, or a healthy plan for your finances, or a healthy plan for, if you
It's
want
like setting an intention, right? Like this is what you intend. Like this is important to you.
Yeah. But I think the trick is that understand that, and then we talked about the grid too, which is one of these things that Abraham uses to explain how the art of allowing works. It's like, understand that like when you form a healthy plan, if you have a healthy plan for your day, like you need to go to the grocery store and then you're going to go have dinner with a friend and all that, and then you're going to come home, watch your favorite TV show, and then you're going to go to bed. Like there's nothing wrong. You're not like fighting the universe having a plan, but just understand that the universe knows the best way for you to have the best day.
Yeah.
So you may get to the grocery store and there's no place to park. And so one response to that is like, gosh darn it, I need to go grocery shopping. And why isn't there parking? And I'm sick of this store, and it's like closest to my place, but there's never any parking, whatever. And then you can start to have your vibration really affect your day in a not good way. Like if you start getting into that crankiness and that frustration, it's understandable.
Yeah, and it happens to all of us, right?
It's not that you shouldn't feel it.
Yeah,
but what I'm trying to do more and more is when something like that happens, chill out, like let myself be angry or frustrated for a moment, feel my feelings, but then chill out and just go, there's a reason, that there's no parking right now. And I'm going to drive around a couple more times in a good mood. And if I find a spot.
Or just feel a little better.
Yeah. If I find a spot, cool. If not, I'll go do my other thing. I'll come back to the store later. And when I do that sort of thing, what I'm doing is like I'm releasing the resistance. I'm releasing any sort of, negative vibration I'm putting out to the universe. I'm going back to my kind of ease, positive vibration of, trying to flow with things. Typically what happens is if I'm like, I don't have to go grocery shopping right now, then a parking spot will open right up. And I can actually kind of almost see the energy, like my energy sort of go from not lining up with the universe. Like I'm angry about no parking and there's still no parking. And then I ease up and I go, you know what? It's no big deal. I can come back later. And then it's like, oh, there's the parking spot,
Or even you'll be like, I'll come back later, and then you go do your next thing, and then you run into a friend or something.
Exactly.
Like, well, and you're like, oh my God, I was thinking of you, and here you are. Or you'll find something that, you've been needing or wanting, where if you hadn't gotten there at that time, and which goes back to the law of attraction, the universe, your universal manager, knowing everything that you want, like energetically knows everything and is keeping this tally, like, and then knows like where everything is and can direct you. Like kind of like I was saying last night, is like in my stress, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna listen to some Abraham, and I'm just kind of like, it's almost like background noise. And then I'm hearing things, I'm like, oh my God, like I was being directed to, because I could have watched a show or put on music or whatever, but I knew enough, like Abraham, it would be really good to hear some Abraham right now. And then I got exactly what I needed. But when you were talking about, having this plan and then going about your day, I had this memory of when, like, Lou and I have had some incredible trips. Like, so one of the things that we did really well together was have incredible vacations. And one of them was we went to Boston. It was amazing. Like, met so many wonderful people, has so many, and it's because I'm like, we both love to travel, and so the excitement of going away and going somewhere new, and then just law of attraction and responding to our energy. And so when we came back from that trip, in Little Italy, they were having the art walk, and I'd always wanted to go, and we went, and so I was super happy we were there. And we were looking around, and then we got to a place and where they had food and stuff, so we ordered some food. And we go, and there's a bunch of tables, but most of them are taken, and nobody really wants you to like sit with them. And so we finally get this table, and we sit down, and then we see someone else looking for a table as well. And we're like, hey, you can come sit next to us. And he sits to us with us. He's visiting. He's from Boston. He's visiting. He's a doctor. He's into martial arts. Lou's into martial arts. And we have this amazing interaction. And Lou's like, oh my God, I can't even believe that happened. And I'm like, well, of course it is. Like, we were so happy. Like, just the universe knows how to, I don't want to say manipulate, but how to organize and orchestrate everything. And so I'm like, yeah, that's kind of how it is. If you're feeling good, like lots of cool stuff's going to happen. So some people are often surprised by it. And me too, still sometimes. And other times it's like, yeah, of course, right? Like, never. We wouldn't have. There were hundreds of people there. And look, we met someone who was from Boston, and we had just gone like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's the most challenging thing. Like in that example, what's going on? Like when I see that there's no parking, and I need to, my belief is I need to go grocery shopping right now, and there's no parking, and this is like wrong. Like this scenario is
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
Like that's where it's under. Like again, like if somebody talks about their day like that, and they're like, "Oh, I'm so frustrated. I need to go grocery shopping, but I went, and then there's no parking. I got so upset." Like I understand that. I'm not like, wow, why are you so crazy? Like that's a normal situation where you'd be frustrated in modern life, But what's really going on there is like you didn't just fill in the grid, which would be your overall kind of general plan for the day, like grocery shopping, lunch with a friend, favorite show. You created the grid, which the universe is like, yeah, create the grid, no problem. But then you were like, in the first part of the grid, which was the first part of your day, you're like, the first part of this has to go exactly how I expect. And that's where we get off. That's where we get off.
I know, right?
You know what
Yeah,
I mean? The
yeah,
universe
yeah.
has no problem with you going to, like, making the plan and going to the grocery store. That's totally fine. But if you demand that, there's a parking spot right up front because I said so, like out of this desire to control
Or
it,
even just expecting that things should go the way I expect
the
them
way
to,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that it's either that way or no way. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
And I think this is a subtle thing that took me a while to understand is that I can visualize, like if I'm at my house, I've made the general plan for the day. I'm about to go to the grocery store. I'm in a good mood, I'm thinking happy thoughts that make me feel happy. I'm putting out a positive vibration. There's also nothing wrong at all with me taking a few moments and visualizing before I ever leave my apartment like this awesome parking space at the grocery store. Now, most people don't do this. Like I know I can do this and I still forget. Every time I like get a horrible parking situation in LA, I'm like, why didn't I, just like get happy, like literally like turn on my favorite song before I leave,
yeah. I was
30
gonna say,
seconds, and just be
yeah,
like, oh, that awesome parking space. And like when I get there, it's like, well, what I usually realize is on my drive over, I had like an anxious thought of like, oh my God, what if there's no parking?
yeah. I was gonna say it's more
Yeah,
that. It's like that belief of like,
yeah,
oh, parking sucks right now, or
yeah,
last time I couldn't have. It's those
yeah,
thoughts, those repetitive thoughts, like, or
yeah,
the fear, like, oh, I'm gonna get there and there's not gonna be any there.
yeah. Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing. Is like that's what I have to. So I feel like what happens for me is like I get this opportunity. Like when I get to the grocery store parking lot and there's no parking initially, I have this opportunity. And the opportunity is can I flow? Can I let go of my expectations and
Yeah,
just say,
yeah,
I just need to go grocery shopping soon. I don't have to do
yeah,
it right now.
yeah,
Can I let go of like how the grocery shopping is going to happen today and just let the universe run that? If I can do that, things tend to go really well after that. Again,
yeah,
like
yeah,
sometimes just doing that, the parking spot will open up. But even if it
yeah,
doesn't,
yeah,
like you said, you know, okay, so I go to the lunch place where I'm meeting my friend early
yeah,
and I find this amazing bookstore I've never seen before. And I
yeah,
go in, I
yeah,
find,
yeah,
you
yeah,
can have all these incredible things happen. But that's the thing. I think a lot of times we have lots of opportunities during our day where it's like you don't have to figure it out. That's part of that, like in that parking lot. It's like I have to figure out how to get a parking
yeah,
spot right now.
yeah,
It's like whether there are parking spots or not is beyond your control as a human. That's up to the universe. That's not your territory. You don't have to figure it out. You just need to like be happy and chill out and like
yeah.
kind
Just
of
think better.
flow with it.
Like when it said in here, things are always working out for me.
Yeah,
Everything's always working out for me.
that was the other thing I wanted to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, and go for it.
Well, I think Abraham was the first person or the first entity or whatever that I'd ever heard that from. Like, I was listening to a workshop I think on YouTube, and she said something like, "Yeah, a good thing to say to yourself all day long is everything is always working out for me." And my first reaction to that when I ever heard it for the very first time was like, "That is insanity. What are you talking about?" Like,
Really?
it just sounded so extreme. It's like
Oh my
everything
god, that's funny.
everything is always working out for me? Like, are you kidding me? Like, would you like a list
Okay,
of what
so
my
what's it
ego
like
thinks are the
now?
mistakes that the universe has made that have, messed up my life? I've got
So
a list.
that was your response then.
Yes.
What's your response now to that phrase? Everything is always working out for me.
Yeah, I think it's true, and I think when I look back at my life with an honest eye, it's really true. Like, and this is the thing, even folks who doubt this, if I start getting them talking about, have you ever had a situation where, something happened, you thought it was the worst thing ever, but then like a little while later you see like something awesome that happened after that couldn't have happened unless the thing at the beginning that you thought was terrible
Yeah.
happened. And
Yeah.
everyone without exception has at least one story that they remember about, oh my gosh, there was this one time something happened, I thought it was the worst thing ever, but a lot. I hear this a lot in people talking about, like, people who are happily in a happy couple or happy marriage.
Yeah.
They'll talk about something in their story of how they met and got together. Like, there was some terrible thing that had, like, they were trying to do something and they couldn't because of some unfortunate circumstance, and that led them to meeting their eventual partner or whatever. Like, they wouldn't have met the love of their
had that
life
thing
if
not
they hadn't got
happen.
stuck in traffic or whatever.
Yeah. Cool.
And it's like, yeah, but that's the thing that's tough if you, like me, were believing that before my exposure to the law of attraction, like, life is weird. Sometimes things work out, sometimes things don't. The truth of that statement is, sometimes things work out in accordance with my expectations, but sometimes the universe knows better and does something different. My expectations are not met at all, but I get what I want and what I need.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like how I try to understand it today. It's like, when I hear the words everything's always working out for me, it's a long view of my entire life or this entire year or whatever. It's not like right now is everything. Again,
Or
if you're at the grocery
okay, so is
store.
this a little different? Things are always working out for me. Is that a little softer? Things are always working out for me.
I thought that's what we were talking about.
Well, everything. You
Oh,
know what I mean?
oh.
Does that
Yeah, it's a
kind of
little.
soften the
It's a little
vibration a little
softer.
bit? Like that,
Yeah.
okay, things are always working. Oh, that's a little better than everything is always working out for me.
Yeah.
Well, and it reminded me of when I met that woman down in Pacific Beach that morning at Kono's, and her and her husband, they're this beautiful couple, and we were having breakfast, and so we started chatting, and she was telling me how she met this was her second husband, and how they had met, and she was telling me that her first husband, that's who she had her son from, and that he had passed away, and how her and her son ended up moving to her friends and staying with them for a bit, and then she met her husband. And I'm like, wow, it's quite a story. And she said, but she goes, I was just happy and things always worked out for me. And I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It was just beautiful words coming out of her mouth. And it's so true, right? Because her vibration was such that even though this, a lot of people think of people transitioning as this horrible thing, and mostly it's really rough for people who are left behind, but she just like rolled with it and just like, just kind of like, what do they say? Make lemonade out of lemons. And so
one thing that makes me think of is something I've really been honing in on recently in recent months. I've just been noticing it a lot, is that one of the things that I grew up with, and this isn't anybody's fault, but it was just kind of something that was passed around where I grew up and my family and other families that I was friends with or whatever. Like, when something wouldn't work out according to their expectations, people around me when I was growing up would say, like, oh, and of course, if I get to the grocery store and there's no parking, I mean, of course, that's how it happens. And I just realized I have that sort of recorded as a belief almost.
Yeah.
And when something doesn't go, what I'm thinking is the way that would have been best for me,
Right.
I'll say, "Oh yeah, and of course I forgot my keys," or "of course," or whatever. And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that's." I mean, I don't want to encourage people to be like over analyzing every thought in their mind, but it's like that's something that the universe responds to. Like if I'm thinking that all day long, like, well, of course this is going to go wrong, or of course this is, which is really what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Then the universe is like, oh, you would like things to go wrong. Okay, great, we can do that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you won't
Yeah.
have a parking spot, and
Yeah. Well, and
your friend will cancel on you, and
I
your favorite show will not have the new episode they promised, or whatever.
and I like what my good friend always says. She's like, "How's that working for you?"
Yeah,
That's such a great,
yeah,
when there's something that's not going well, or we keep doing something and it's like complaining about it or struggling with it. And it's like, oh, how's that working for you? Like,
yeah. Well, that's I mean, I have a friend of a friend. One of my friends was telling me about a friend they have that got really deeply into like Buddhism and meditation and whatever. And as I knew, they had never really studied it before, but they became very immersed in it. And my friend was hanging out with this person for the first time after they had done this.
mm-hmm.
And my friend was like, kind of like, they would go around and they had this kind of pattern of like, my friend would complain, and usually their friend would either chime in or just agree or whatever. And so they hang out this first time afterwards, and my friend, complains or something. Not in any grand
Yeah,
scheme. It's
yeah,
just like,
right.
that's really frustrating. And the friend of the friend would say, just all every time would say, "Why do you need to judge that?"
Oh.
And it just like brought the whole thing to a screeching halt every time. It was like, because
Wow.
that's what we don't understand is happening. Is like we are judging, like when I say like when I get really super frustrated, if I stay stuck in that in the grocery store parking
Yeah,
lot example,
yeah.
it's like I am making a judgment as if I was the master of the universe, that the universe is wrong. There should have been,
Oh,
rock star
oh, I
parking
love this.
right at the front.
Oh man,
And
that's like taking it to a whole nother level. That is awesome.
whatever angel or whatever was in charge of parking at the grocery store needs to be reprimanded, because whatever.
They
And
dropped
we're
the
not.
ball. They called in sick that day,
Yeah,
and
and that's the episode where we talked about the the universe's control room. I think
yeah,
towards the end of season 2, it's like,
yeah.
it's really true. Like, man, there's so many things that need to go into events that we take for granted.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
there are so many things involved in parking at a grocery store parking lot. We don't need to think about them, we don't have to think about them, but when it affects you in a what you think is a negative way, don't get into like, well, I need to talk to God about this whole parking lot situation, or the
Yeah.
universe or whatever. It's like the universe has got the parking situation handled. The question is, are you willing to let go of the filling in of your grid, let the universe fill it in, and roll with that? Because if you can, then you're just going to get great experiences. You're going to bump into great people. You're going to have great conversations. You're going to receive things that you've wanted or that will make you happy.
I really hope, especially for our listeners who've been listening for a little while,
Hmm.
I hope that they're starting to practice some of the art of allowing and seeing the difference
Hmm.
of when they feel a little better and what happens, and
Yeah.
when they're not feeling so good and what happens,
Yeah.
and then intentionally trying to reach for that better feeling thought, or practice appreciation, or look for the good things around them that's going on, and noticing like how law of attraction is responding to their energy.
Yeah.
Because it really is, it's as simple as that. And we're not alone. Like we think,
Right.
so many of us think like, I have to get it done, it's all on me, the pressure, blah blah blah. And it's
Yeah.
like you were saying, like there's such a bigger picture here, even just in our bodies. Like I don't be like, okay, my blood's got to pump now, my heart's got to pump, like, my
Yeah.
digestion has, all of
Yeah.
that is working without any, like there is like a whole
I
city
forgot to
going
tell
on, a
my fingernails to
universe.
grow the proper length today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there's so much going on. We just get up, I just get up and go, and don't even
Yeah.
like think, I don't even know how all of that operates.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been given to me. It's a
Yeah.
miracle, and that's just that our bodies. What about everything else, the weather
Yeah.
system, flora and fauna, and blah blah blah. I mean,
Well, one of my
there's so much
favorite,
good.
sometimes I can be kind of a jerk to people when I'm joking around, and um,
Really?
I find it, yeah, newsflash. I find it amusing. Sometimes the person does, sometimes they do not.
Uh,
But one of my favorite things is like I'll have conversations with people who are like, they need $50 for something, and they're just convinced that like they can't get to $50.
mm,
You know, and what I say is like, yeah. One of the things I say is like, yeah, higher power, the spirit, the universe, created an entire universe filled with near infinite amount of galaxies, kept all the galaxies in balance, kept all the star systems, like with our star system, put the sun at the exact right distance for us to have daylight and, nighttime and animals and everything like that, rivers, oceans, trees. But $50, man, I don't see it happening. Like, I don't think the universe can give you $50. It's just like,
or if
you know,
for everyone, it could be a different amount. So it could be
yeah,
500 or
yeah,
5,000 or
exactly, yeah,
50,000 or
or
500,000 or
5 million,
5 million. So wherever you're at, but still, it doesn't
yeah,
matter. It's like,
yeah,
yeah, universal managers, I got you covered. Chill
I mean,
out,
the universe makes
relax,
the sun
and
come
trust.
up every morning and go down every night, but like
And we're
a hundred
oblivious of it. We
bucks.
don't even think about
Are you
it.
crazy?
Like, yeah, we are
A hundred
so
bucks, that's
blessed.
hard. Keeping nine planets in balance, easy peasy. But $100 is $100. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I think
So,
we're good. That was
yeah,
great.
yeah. No, this was a really great discussion. Thank you. I'm glad you took those observations from your listening to Abraham and brought them today. It was good. It's a good discussion. I hope you enjoyed our discussion here today on Co-Creation Station. We want to thank you so much for listening or watching and liking, following, subscribing, reviewing us, and yeah, all that good stuff. If people want to find you, Stephanie, how can they do so?
On the web, powerinjoy, powerinjoy.com, and also on Instagram, same handle.
Unless you're watching this 200 years in the future from when we're recording it, you can always contact me on Instagram, which for those of you 200-year future people was a social media platform that we had back around
I
this
wonder
time.
what we're going to have
Um,
100 years from now.
I don't know.
I'm
I don't
sure
know.
we'll still be
That's
in
why
each
I
other's
always,
orbit.
yeah. But you can reach me on Instagram. You can also write me a direct message at Collin_Daniels_Worster. Collin has 2 L's, and Worster is WORSTER. Thank you so much for listening and or watching us today. And we hope you got something great out of it. We wish you a very happy, abundant, prosperous, and happy week. And we'll see you next time on Co-Creation Station.
Bye,
Take
y'all.
care, everybody.